What it came down to, honestly, on Dallas was these last couple of years, it feels like the fans haven't gotten full value really out of Cowboys Eagles. That's one of the top, 5 games of the year every year when we go into it.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It's a teaching tutorial Thursday. It's one of my favorite days of the year, shows of the year. I get to ask questions of Mike North with the schedule just coming out. I'm not even wasting any time. I want to make sure we get maximum Mike North time. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
One of my favorite shows of the year. Every year, we either get a chance to interview him the night of the schedule release or the next morning, which is what we're doing today. Mike North, I forgot to look up what his official title is this year, but he's VP of Broadcasting, VP of Scheduling, whatever. He's
Scheduling
VP
nerd.
of,
That's
what is
my
it? Are you
title.
EVP now, Mike?
Scheduling nerd. That's my title. Carbon blob from Sector 7G. Just another link in the chain.
All right, so there's a lot to get to. So I think, look, I get new listeners, new viewers every year, but I think most people have a pretty good idea of the process, but I still think we need to start there with just the process of how you guys go about making the schedule, because I know that the number one priority is to make sure everybody's teams are mad and feel like you hate them.
Mission accomplished, as always. Look, the simplest way to explain it is you've got these 272 games. They are assets. They belong to our fans, and these 272 assets are all worth a little something different. So we want to make sure that the ones that are worth the most are available to as many fans as possible. Put them in national television windows, get maximum value out of them. If everybody's really excited to see a Green Bay, Dallas, Kansas City, Philly, whatever it is, let's make sure it's in a window where the fans can see them. So maximize sort of fan value, if you will, get all those games in the right homes. And we're trying to drive engagement, drive viewership, and obviously it's a business, drive revenue, but also there's a line that we shouldn't cross when it comes to things like competitive fairness and player health and safety, travel, whatever it is. So push the engagement, push the viewership, and maybe walk right up to that, competitive inequities line, but don't cross over it. And so the whole job is placing all these games in the right homes with all the restrictions that you've always kind of hinted at. You were in the league. It's not easy to make everybody happy. So we're just kind of making everybody hopefully equally disappointed.
Was there any when you go up to that line of competitive balance, I know every year there's like different things that you guys might tweak here or there. You don't want someone on the road, multiple short weeks or whatever it is. Were there any sort of tweaks that you guys put into the computer system this year, or was it kind of the same as the last couple years?
It's the same with an eye towards, how far is pushing too far? I'll give you a pretty good example. You mentioned the multiple short weeks. Like it wasn't that long ago that no team in the league played multiple short weeks. We played a handful of games on Thursdays, and so everybody played one. Then a few years ago, we started allowing teams to play a second short week Thursday. Shouldn't both be on the road, one home, one away, or maybe both at home. And then a few years ago, we got up to like 8 teams playing multiple short weeks. Then we got to, I think, 13 or 14 last year. This year, I think it's more than half the league. You just know that we're playing, all those games on Thanksgiving, on Black Friday, on Christmas. That's just more teams that are going to have to play multiple short weeks. So the job really now is to balance where those fall over the course of the 18 weeks for each of these teams. You get 2 short weeks. All right, they shouldn't be too close to each other. You get a little mini bye after the Thursday game. So space out those rest periods, space them out from your regular bye as well. So wave a magic wand, short week Thursday, bye in the middle, short week Thursday at the end. Maybe it's bye early, short week, whatever it is. Just trying to space those things out. Things like 3 games in 10 days, like happened last year to a handful of clubs down the stretch. Just kind of be mindful. I don't ever want to say we'll never do that again because you never know, but just trying to be mindful. Don't let the multiple short weeks fall on the same teams year after year after year. Don't let the 3 games in 10 days happen if you don't have to. Just trying to be mindful, trying to be fair, and really equitable. If bad luck moves around, if it happened to fall on you last year, it shouldn't fall on you again this year.
It's interesting because one of the things that jumped out to me is that the Cowboys have four Thursday games. That's never happened before. And, I got to tell you, Mike, as a former player, gosh, I would love that. And I think, there's one week 13 and week 14, they have back-to-back Thursdays, so that'll just be a normal week.
Yep, full week.
But the other three Thursdays, they get the weekend off. Like that's
Yep.
like I don't know. This is just the former player in me. That's a dream schedule to have a bye and three weekends off. Any feedback from them or anybody else about the Cowboys getting four Thursday games, and was that a concern at all?
Wasn't a concern because, again, we were thinking about it not so much on the back end, but on the front end. As you mentioned, of those four Thursdays, two of them aren't short weeks. One's week one. They've got all summer to get ready for Philadelphia on kickoff week. And then, like you said, Thursday to Thursday, Thanksgiving to the following Thursday, we always bring a couple of teams back on a full week there. So it is a anomaly, but certainly doesn't seem competitively unfair. Certainly the Cowboys didn't react that way. To your point, it'll be interesting now. All the teams got their schedules yesterday and they reacted the way they reacted. Now that they've seen everybody else's schedule, they almost have to re-react to their own schedule. I don't think the Cowboys are going to complain about the four Thursdays. Might be interesting to see what the Commanders or the Eagles or the Giants have to think about, like you said, all those weekends off for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think there's probably pros and cons to that for sure, but that's a really good point. I think a lot of people, Mike, were surprised that you guys have the Cowboys in the opener coming off of a 7-10 season. And we all know there was a lot of other choices. I think most of the time when you talk with people, they thought it might be the Rams or the Command, the Cowboys were not a team that was talked about a lot. Can you take me into why the Cowboys were picked as the opener against the Eagles for opening night?
Yeah, you got it right. There were a lot of good options. We looked at Denver, we looked at Washington, we looked at Detroit. All would have been great. Rams would have been good. What it came down to, honestly, on Dallas was these last couple of years, it feels like the fans haven't gotten full value really out of Cowboys Eagles. That's one of the top, five games of the year every year when we go into it, thinking about these two Cowboys Eagles games. And so it's usually kind of one early and one late. Well, these last couple of years, that one late hasn't really panned out the way we'd all hoped, whether it was somebody had quarterback injury or records were a little disappointing, or heck, we had a year where the Eagles had a playoff spot clinched, and by the time they got to the Cowboys game. So thinking about getting one of those in early, can't get any earlier than week one. Both teams undefeated, Dak coming back, new coach. And the Eagles fans are probably pretty excited about hanging a banner in front of the Cowboys. So it felt like a really good opportunity and a chance to go really big in maybe a window we don't usually go really big. But I think that's a consistent theme throughout the whole schedule. You see us big on kickoff, big on Thanksgiving, big on Christmas, just the depth and the quality of the 272 matchups this year, just the way the teams, rotated through other divisions, the standings-based matchups. There's so much good stuff. So we could afford maybe to go a little bit bigger in some of those windows where maybe we haven't. You kind of know where the floor is for engagement and viewership on kickoff and Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think this year we're going to kind of test where the ceiling is. I think it'll be pretty fun.
So that was one thing that jumped out to me, Mike, because I thought everybody's going to watch the Thanksgiving Day game anyway. Do you have to put the Chiefs against the Cowboys on that day when I don't know anybody whose TV isn't on the game anyway? So I thought that was an interesting point, a choice to put the Chiefs against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving when it's the game that gets watched by so many people already.
Yeah, all credit for that goes to Hans Schroeder, our boss, the guy who runs the scheduling process. He had the idea kind of really early in the process, to which, of course, the rest of us said, no, you don't need to do that. We don't go big on Thanksgiving. You don't have to. But his point, kind of like we were saying before, is, we have so many good matchups. You just look at the Kansas City schedule, right? And they play Dallas and they play Philly and they play Washington and Detroit and Buffalo and Baltimore and so many good Chiefs games. You could afford to spend one of the big ones. And it probably doesn't get any bigger in the league right now than KC Dallas. They're the two most, viewed teams in the league. That's where most of our top games, what are we, 93 of the top 100 most watched games? Good chunk of those are Cowboys and Chiefs games. Put them together, put them on Thanksgiving. Maybe we can get Taylor to sing the national anthem. We can get people involved beyond just, us avid hardcore football fans who are going to watch anything. There's a lot of people. We saw some stats over the summer from our analytics team, from Mike Lopez and the team, talking about there's like 8-10% of NFL fans that watch their first game every year on Thanksgiving. So they don't even really, they're more casual. They don't really get to us until Thanksgiving. One way to ensure a little more attention, a few more eyeballs, and let's see if we can't really set a record that day. Cowboys, Commanders a couple of years ago, Cowboys, Giants, whatever it was, 42, 43 million on Thanksgiving. I think we got a shot at pushing 48, 49, maybe 50 if we get a close game. That's a incredible story in an era when, people don't watch television anymore and nobody really agrees on anything. 50 million people watching Cowboys Chiefs on Thanksgiving would be pretty fun.
All right. International games.
Yep.
There's a lot now. I mean, it feels like
Well,
there's a lot.
did you
I
play
think
in them when you
all of
played?
them.
Did you play in them?
What's that?
Did you
I
play in
played
them when
in
you played?
one. It was
Where?
preseason.
Yeah.
Osaka, Japan,
Oh my.
2002. I'm like one of the OGs. Like Osaka, Japan. You guys need to go back there at some point. We played the Niners. I started that game actually in the preseason. Man, that place was far away. That was a long flight, Japan.
That's the thing
So
about these international games that you're getting to it, right? We've been playing in London for years. I don't want to say it's become routine because it's still special, but it's becoming more routine. An East Coast team traveling to London, playing in the afternoon over there, in the morning over here in the East Coast in this country, you're back in your facility by midnight. Like if you're Miami and you're gone over there, like you're home before you would from a Niners or a Seahawks road game. So UK is becoming a little bit more routine, expanding our footprint in Europe now. Germany is a great spot for NFL football. Spain should be really fun this year. Um, but stretching a little bit always. Brazil again. We're going to Australia next year. There's a lot of talk about some other kind of far-flung places. It's going to be a continuing challenge to make sure that the teams that are doing it are interested, are eager, are excited about the opportunity, and we're managing their schedule both on the front end. Where are you the couple of weeks before? Where are you on the back end when you get back? Where's your bye? Where's your short week Thursday or two? So it's a lot to manage, but I don't think we're slowing down. You keep hearing the commissioner go out there talking about 10, 12, 16 international games someday. It's here to stay.
So tell me about the conversation with the Vikings and having them stay over in Europe. I don't think they're going to fly back, but having two
Same.
games back to back in Europe because I've seen a lot of contrasting reaction online about how people feel about that. How do the Vikings themselves feel about it, and how did it come about?
It came about reaching out to the team kind of mid-March when we sort of had our feet underneath us. We had a structure in place for the schedule. We kind of knew, where we were using some of the games, what our initiatives were going to be, what our strategy was going to be. Like we said, Hans's idea to go big on Thanksgiving, still working through some of the other deals with Netflix, YouTube, Peacock. So there were still some moving parts. But when we got into the international games, I basically reached out to all the teams and said, Vikings, you see the schedule. You know Pittsburgh's hosting a game in Dublin. You know you are a road opponent for the Steelers this year. There's a chance you could be chosen to go to Ireland. Subsequent phone call. Hey, Vikings, you know you're playing the Browns this year. They're hosting a game in London. You know you're a possible opponent to play the Browns in London this year. And it was actually Commissioner Goodell who said, you think they'd want to do both? And I said, absolutely not. No chance. But I called him and I talked to him, and they went from open-minded to willing to kind of eager. And so kind of partnered up with them, figured out a way to innovate, try something new here. And they worked with our ops team. And I don't know all the details. I don't know if they're going to stay in Ireland after the Steelers game and then go over to the UK, or leave Ireland and go to the UK, but they're going to spend the week over there. And it'll be a good test for us. The Jaguars have done this a couple of years in a row now, played as, back-to-back London games, but this will be the first time somebody's playing twice as the road team and in two different countries. Might be with an eye towards things we do in the future. Maybe if we're playing in Abu Dhabi, maybe somebody plays in Germany or France or Italy the week before and continues on from there. Just trying new stuff, seeing what works. And, you should talk to the Vikings. I imagine part of their calculus was, we know we're a visiting team for the Browns and the Steelers. Those games easily could have ended up in December in the snow, in a hostile environment. I'm sure they were thinking this year you get a bit of a neutral site, get them in early, get them over with, and come back and raring to go from there. So they definitely it wasn't over their objections. And I think we're all going to learn a little something from
One of the criticisms I've seen so
it.
far, Mike, of the schedule is no primetime games for the Titans, despite the fact that they had the number one overall pick and they took Cam Ward. And maybe perhaps some of that is because people don't think Cam Ward and the Titans really got their due on draft night, and that maybe it was overshadowed. How tough was it to not give the Tennessee Titans any primetime games, knowing that they had the number one pick in the draft?
Yeah, it wasn't intentional. I mean, you know how this works. We've got probably a dozen schedules in front of the commissioner in that last week. Some of those had the Titans on Monday Night Football. Some of them had the Titans in the TBD pool for Saturday, for the NFL Network. It wasn't a conscious effort going in maximum zero Titans primes. It was more about a mixture of all the rest of what has to go into the soup. You know, you don't draft your way into prime time, you play your way into prime time. So just because you had the number one pick doesn't mean you automatically make the prime time schedule the following season, but certainly fan interest will be there. I think they're on national television in the preseason, so at least fans will get a chance to see Cam play then if he's playing. But I'll tell the Titans and I'll tell the Saints and I'll tell all the teams what we tell everybody. Nobody knows anything. It's sports. It's the NFL. It's the beauty of the league, right? There's 4 or 5 playoff teams every year that finish last in their division the previous season. There's always something like that. So you've got every chance to play yourself into bigger television windows, whether we flex you to a Sunday night or a Monday night, or we expand the footprint of your game on CBS on Sunday at 1 o'clock. You can get to 60, 70% of the country on a Sunday afternoon if yours is the game that matters. So they've got every opportunity, just like every other team, to play their way into bigger windows. And look, I hope they surprise us every year. Somebody surprises us, right? 2 years ago, we didn't put the Texans on national television and they made the playoffs. Last year, I think the Commanders only had 1 or 2, and now they have 9. Like, things turn around real quick in this league. If the Titans make the playoffs and Cam's the rookie of the year, I'd expect to see him all over the primetime schedule again next year.
Let's talk Monday Night Football. One of the things that we've talked about in prior years, I still don't quite understand, is the overlapping games on Monday. It looks to me, though, Mike, that you're only doing that twice, and 3 of them are double headers. I think that might be less than it was last year. Can you just talk me through Monday night and the double header versus overlap?
Let me ask you a question first. You don't understand it or you don't like it?
I don't understand it, and I don't like it. What
Okay,
I don't understand about it is there's a lot of value for you guys in having standalone games. We
there
all
is.
recognize that. You guys are trying to get more standalone games every year. What I don't understand is why have that overlap for 2 hours when you could have a 7 and a 10 and there's no overlap.
Got it. Okay. The answer to that question, first of all, is this overlap idea. Like, oh man, I can't watch that second game. If that game weren't being overlapped on a Monday night, that game would be back on Sunday afternoon, one of 6, 7, 8 games going on at the same time. You wouldn't get to see that one either. So at least by putting it on a Monday night, even if it's in an overlap, you got ESPN and ABC, you got side by sides, you can flip back and forth, watch one, tape one. You have a chance at least to watch it. Now then, to your point about the overlap, hey, why not just do 7 and 10? You're right. We're going to try it a couple of times this year. Once in week 2, and again in week 7, I think it is with the ESPN Plus game. We're going to try it a couple of times. We did it for a decade in week 1. Monday Night Football always had the doubleheader 7 and 10. The challenge there, really, you and I are going to stay up. We're going to watch all 6 hours. That's an awful lot of football in one shot, and it gets well past midnight here on the East Coast. That's a tough thing to ask the fans to do, especially if by definition, you're kicking off at 10 o'clock Eastern. You're probably looking at 2 Western sites. So we're playing like a Chargers Raiders game at 10 p.m. Eastern time in week 2. That game is going to end at 1 o'clock in the morning. Is the East Coast going to stay awake and watch 2 Western teams well past midnight on a work and a school night? So that's the reason not to do it every week of the year. But we are going to try it a couple of times this year. The fans, as always, they're not shy. They'll tell us what they think. They vote with their remotes. And if the viewership is better and fans like it better, we might look at it again in the future, maybe a few more. But this is really less about trying to take games into more national windows, and it's really more about giving fans more choices, and they'll let us know how they feel. They always do.
And it's interesting too, Mike, because I usually do one of those games for Westwood,
There you go. So
right?
then it's
But
your
it's always
travel.
weird. It's like, okay, so what stations are we on? You know what I mean? Like TV, it's like they can have one on ABC, one on ESPN. The radio, it's like, well, the stations then, the Westwood One affiliates kind of have to pick, which one they're taking. So maybe it's more like the radio brain in me. Um, that is fit because I Kurt Warner usually gets the more marquee one. So I don't know how many radio stations I'm on those nights.
Well, at least on those 2 nights, you'll be on all of them. Sign up for the Vegas game. I think that'll be a fun scene. There's a couple of Monday night games in Vegas this year. You should definitely take both of those.
So, 7 primetime games for the Chiefs. Didn't there used to be a limit? Like what is the limit?
It's I know it's 7. It's really more like 6, and then an international game. The international games are kind of out of our control just in terms of where they're played. You go to London and you're 9:30 in the morning. You go to Brazil and you're 7:30 at night. Yes, it is a night game. I'm not gonna pretend it's not, but we think about it less as, who's in prime time as it is who's in a national window. So yeah, they've got a few extra games at night, but Chiefs are used to it, right? This is par for the course for those guys. They've been playing this non-routine, playing every day of the week, playing on all our different media partners. This is how you grow a brand. This is how you meet the fans where they are. And with that game on YouTube, it's going to be streamed again globally, just like we did with Netflix on Christmas. So one broadcast partner, one sporting event, global reach, and one way to keep the entire planet interesting is to put a Chiefs Chargers game in there. They have been playing really fun, competitive, down to the wire, high scoring games these last couple of years. It's maybe the biggest rivalry in that division right now. So here's a chance for the Chargers to kind of have an opportunity to take the Chiefs out of SoFi, take them out of LA, take them, on the road, and both of them looking for a good start to their season. It is a seventh night game, but probably not something that the Chiefs are all that surprised by, or really even all that daunted by. They're kind
So
of
there
used.
isn't a limit. Like I used to think there was like a limit. Otherwise, you guys would have the Cowboys in all the time.
Yeah, which we're not trying to do. And it's not even so much, honestly, about the broadcast partners. It's really more about the fans. You want to make sure that, there are some Sunday afternoon games for the fans. They shouldn't feel like every one of a team's home games is at night, especially if it's Thursday night or Monday night, like we said, a school night or a work night. So it's partially about our media partners, but it's also really as much about the fans and not having every one of their games in prime time. The Brazil ones, put an asterisk on it. Yeah, technically it's in prime, but all those international games, to us at least, count as national television games because they are, like you said earlier, in a standalone window.
Mike North is the man. Look forward to it every year. Thank you so much for your time again this year, Mike. Terrific job. Really appreciate it.
Always good talking to you, Ross. Take care.
It is schedule release week in the NFL. What does that mean? It's the perfect time for you to book hotel rooms, for you to figure out what games you're going to go to with your buddies. The good news is you don't have to figure out what you're going to drink. You're going to drink Smirnoff. It's the world's #1 vodka. It's an official vodka partner of the NFL and this show, which I greatly appreciate. That tells you how smart the people are at Smirnoff that they sponsor this show. Grab a bottle of Smirnoff at your local retailer. Here's the key. Head to Smirnoff.com to find recipes of delicious cocktails perfect for game day. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff #21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please not share with anyone under legal drinking age.
Tuck's takes.
All right, Ross. The Ravens, they lose defensive back Darius Washington for the season with torn Achilles, and they sign running back Derrick Henry to a 2-year extension that includes $25 million guaranteed.
Who got hurt again? Jack, do you want to try it
Is
again?
it Ardarius? Is that how you say it?
Yes, there you go. There you go. Ardarius, he played a bunch for them last year and played well. That is a big loss. However, they drafted Malachi Starks in the first round, so that helps quite a bit as well. And I knew this was coming for Derrick Henry. He was severely underpaid last year. He very much deserved that. Kudos to Derrick. It is unbelievable what he continues to do at his age, at his size.
And we spoke to Mike North, but do you have any other thoughts about the schedule?
Well, yeah, I mean, I always try to tell you like the player's perspective a little bit or things that jump out to me. Certainly jumped out to me the 4 Thursday games for the Cowboys and those guys getting 3 extra weekends off. They have 4 weekends off during football season. That is unbelievable. Like that never happens. You know, the no primetime games, dirty little secret I put on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. A lot of players don't like primetime games because you're in a hotel all day. It's brutal. It's boring. So I like that part of it. Now, I will say it's kind of weird to me that like the Dolphins, Falcons, Chargers, some of these teams that got 5 primetime games, that's a little bit surprising to me. But other than that, it's probably about what I expected. I do have winners, by the way. Drew Coyne made a comment on Instagram at Ross Tucker Pod. Drew, I love it. Email me, ross@rosstucker.com for your signed press pass or picture card. Same with Zach Smith. This guy went to Disney World from Australia and sent me a picture of him drinking a Labatt at Disney World. Unbelievable. And the YouTube comment, Steve Bender, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Big week next week. I think we're done here. I love when the NFL schedule gets released. It's like you're planning when you're going to drink Labatt Blue and drink beer. You now know, Bills fans especially, but all of you, when you can do it. And then go to the website, snap a photo of your receipt, upload it instantly to rack up points for exclusive merch. I already got the incredible fridge. The next thing, I need to get that bag. I need to get the cooler bag. It's buy beer, get gear. Go to rewards.labattusa.com to sign up.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. You know what it is? It's by far the best gift for your dad for Father's Day or your grandpa. Tell the people in your life, you know what? Ross always talks about this My Front Page story. I think that'd be cool. BackOfficeScheduler.com, HumanHeadNYC.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.